Hey guys, good morning. Coach Jen T here. Today is Thursday, and I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of food vlogging tips. And the reason for that is because spring is here, summer is around the corner, people are feeling ultra motivated to look and feel their best. And one thing that we do in my program is we simply track food, and that isn't to drive you crazy, right? Tracking your food is like taking the blinders off when you're driving. It's good to see and bring awareness to what your intake is during the day and in the evening, and when those cravings come on, or on the weekends when you might be indulging a little bit. When you're tracking food, you guys, you're simply collecting data, and it takes a little bit of time, and it really truly depends on how much you actually want to get dialed into it, because even if you give 60% effort in tracking, you're still going to get 60% of the results, of the best results you can get. So again, tracking isn't to drive you crazy, it's just to simply bring awareness, see what your daily habits and routines are as far as your food intake and your drink intake. So with a lot of people coming on board lately, I just want to give a little bit more detail on some macro tracking tips for you guys. And when I say macro tracking, we're simply tracking our food and our calories for the day, but we're also seeing where our macronutrients fall into place. And your macronutrients are your protein, your carbohydrates, and your fat. We're also looking at your fiber and how much water you're taking in. And so those three macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fats, we want to make sure that you're getting a good, even balance of. And certainly, number one, most importantly, is just getting enough protein in your diet. A lot of people are shocked at how little protein they are getting in their day when they start tracking their food. I might get a little distracted during this video. Our puppy Jasmine is still a puppy, and I gave her a bone to see if she would just stay distracted herself and not go try to play with a cat who doesn't like her. So I might get a little distracted here and there. But anyway, so when you are tracking your calories and, paying attention to your carbohydrates, there is kind of like an order of importance in my program when we're tracking. Number one, you guys, is consistency. So tracking or at least checking in every day, even if you're not tracking, because you're not always going to be perfect with it. And eventually you will be able to stop tracking. My program's 4 weeks, and even after 4 weeks of tracking, people can kind of go on their own and be like, wow, now I see what makes me feel my best, what gives me results, and how I'm able to keep moving forward and establish this way of eating into my actual current lifestyle to make it work and enjoy food. So that's number one, is consistency. The second thing that we really focus on is, the calorie balance, right? We want to make sure we're under or at our daily amount of calories. And you guys, believe it or not, a lot of people think when they jump on a quote unquote diet, they need to eat less and cut their calories. You guys, that is not the case. You want to make sure that you're eating enough calories to fuel your metabolism. You want to make sure you're eating enough calories to feel energized and fueled during the day. And you would be surprised, based on your activity level and your body composition, how many calories in a day you actually need. And you can still make progress, that you can actually lose body fat and lean out and get fit simply by keeping track of it and seeing, wow, I actually need to eat more food, and maybe more of the right whole minimally processed foods that are keeping me feeling balanced. The next thing we look at, and the thing that we focus on primarily to give you ideas and help you reach that goal, is your protein. Protein is super important, you guys. By eating protein, you're staying full, you're boosting that lean muscle, you're burning body fat. Your protein has a very high thermic effect. So simply by digesting protein, you are burning more calories with your body at rest. It also helps just support the muscle that you already have, to give you long-term sustainable results and more skeletal muscle, which helps you living strong for the rest of your life. So we really try to focus on protein. I'm here to meet you where you're at, you guys. A lot of people undereat protein. So making sure you're getting enough and not trying to go all out and do this whole big protein haul at first. It's meeting you where you're at, how much protein are you eating in a day now? And then how can we inch that up to eventually be reaching your target on a consistent basis? That's where the magic happens. And then also, you guys, treating your protein, treating your carbohydrate and fats and your calories kind of like a budget. This is very important when you're starting to track. You don't have to be perfect with it, but think about your budget of carbs, fats, and calories, kind of like spending money and going shopping. So you have a budget, right? And when you go shopping at a store, you're not just gonna like make it rain with all your money and blow it all on something you don't really care about or you don't really like, right? When we go shopping, we tend to be a little more conservative with what we're buying, figuring out what it is that you might really like that, do you wanna buy it, or maybe you plan ahead and you save up for this thing that you really want. That's kind of like the way macro tracking and tracking and staying within your budget works. So like planning ahead goes a long way, and really determining, is this thing, like whatever it is, let's say it's a piece of birthday cake, is this worth it to me? Do I want to spend my budget of carbs on that? Heck yeah, you do. You probably do, and you should. So a diet that doesn't bend will eventually break. So that gives you the flexibility to kind of enjoy those foods, but we also make sure, again, you're getting enough protein from other whole food sources in the day, so you can have that occasional treat, the dessert, the cocktail, and we're also making sure you're hitting your fiber goals. And if you're hitting your fiber goals, that tells us that you're typically adding more fruits, more vegetables, more things that come from whole food sources. So you're learning to balance it out and think about your calorie, carb, and fats as like a budget to kind of stay within the range. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You might go over budget one day or under budget another day, and that's okay. But we're simply collecting that data and giving you a guideline to work on. And as you go through the program, you guys, everything we adjust on a weekly basis. So when we see, hey, this amazing woman is just getting way too many fat grams in her week, we're going to up your fat budget so you can actually stick with it. And we might lower your carbs a little bit or adjust your calories. We might see that you're eating more and you're still losing weight, and we're like, wow, we got to give this girl some more calories. So that's all. It's all like moving. It's a moving target, and we're constantly working together. But just remember, it doesn't need to be perfect, and we're simply collecting data and bringing awareness. The next thing is, we talked about this before, but logging your meals ahead of time. A lot of clients have found like pre-tracking meals, whether you're going out to dinner, logging that drink that you might want to have ahead of time, or logging that meal that if you look at a menu ahead of time, or it's your favorite restaurant and you know what you're going to get, log that ahead of time. See where you can tweak it a little bit. Maybe you add a side salad, maybe you just reduce your portion and eat half of it and take half of it home, or you know that you're always under on protein, so you're planning ahead and making sure you're getting a 30 protein target in your first meal of the day, which might be breakfast. Or maybe mid-afternoon, you're like, oh, I always get a little hangry, and then I stand at the kitchen counter while I'm making dinner and munch on junk food. Just knowing that and planning ahead and like tossing in a little protein snack maybe on your way home from work, so you ward off that hunger and you make better food choices in the evening. So a little tiny bit of planning goes a long way, you guys, planning ahead. And I've got a client that went to a concert and she had a grand old time, but knowing when you're either going to be on the road or do those fun things, logging that stuff ahead of time, or leaving yourself some wiggle room, really amping up the protein in the beginning of the day, keeping your carbs and fats a little lower, getting lots of vegetables. It's going to give you that flexibility, but it's also going to help you continue to make progress and feel your best, so you can continue to just move long term with this. The next thing is using a food scale is most accurate when you really want to get dialed in, and you don't need to use a food scale forever or measuring cups forever. But one really important thing, you guys, is when you're looking at a serving size on a bag of chips or a can of beans or some pasta, If you're not weighing and measuring and you're just like throwing it in a bowl and you're just taking a guess, yeah, that's one serving of chips, or yeah, that's one serving of nuts, you might be underestimating significantly how many calories and fats or carbs that you're taking in. So taking out a food scale, having it on you when you are home, just to see, like a visual, what does 1 ounce in weight of nuts look like? Or what does, 1 cup of cereal actually look like? Weighing and measuring, you guys, can help you get dialed in so you can do this long term and know what an actual serving size looks like. And not only that, I like to use a food scale personally for my meat because I need to make sure I'm getting enough protein. And I actually could underestimate my protein quite a bit. So making sure that I am getting, 4 to 6 ounce portions of cooked meat, whatever it might be, will make sure that I get my protein in for the day. And let's see, what else do we have here on my little tips? Let's see, if you are using a food scale and you've got your plate on there and you're kind of assembling a meal, T-A-R-E on your food scale will help you like reset it to 0, so you don't need to keep taking it off and weighing things separately. That's like just a quick tip for doing things a little quicker for yourself if you are using a food scale. Again, if you're brand new, you can eyeball things. You don't need to use a food scale, but once you stop seeing progress or things start stalling, tossing in using a food scale when you can really help you stay on track and see where your food is coming from as far as portion sizes. Now, the other thing to remember is food weighs differently when it's cooked versus raw. So if you're tracking in my program, make sure that if you're eating something that's cooked, such as vegetables or such as raw or cooked meats, typically when something is in a food log, it's in its original form. For example, pasta, it might say like however many grams in weight is a serving of pasta, or oatmeal, but that's typically the weight of the food in its natural form, which is raw and uncooked. So you want to make sure you're weighing that stuff out uncooked if you can. If you can't, you can search in the database for the cooked version, and that will give you kind of the conversion of the raw to the cooked, because cooked typically weighs different when it comes to meat, when it comes to pastas, and when it comes to vegetables. So make sure you're paying attention to cooked versus raw, because that does make a difference. The next thing is to not dwell on perfection and get caught up in the nitty-gritty. This is not like something that's do or die or all or nothing. This is just bringing awareness to your intake and like trying to be 1% better every day. So if you got like no protein or you went way over on carbs, you know what? Brush it off. It's a new day, let go of guilt, and just see how you can be 1% better tomorrow. That's all we're focusing on. And I always tell people to practice the 5 to 15 second rule. If you're spending too much time assembling a meal or tracking it, or getting too caught up in adding each ingredient one at a time to like a recipe, stop what you're doing, put the phone down, put it away, or search for like the easiest thing. Let's say lasagna, you're tossing in lasagna noodles and pasta and vegetables and tomato sauce, whatever it might be. Forget it. Don't spend all the time doing that. Just toss in, like, look up lasagna and pick your best bet and go for it. Toss it in your notes. You don't need to be perfect with this, especially when dining out. It can be really hard to log your food, or for me personally, like if I'm out at a buffet style or a dinner party and there's a little bit of everything, it's totally cool. You don't need to be perfect with it. There will be times that you take a break from tracking, and that's okay. We're human. That's what happens. And again, we're simply training ourselves. We've got our training wheels on, and so it's helping us stay on our bicycle. It's helping us stay on track. And eventually, with like practice, for some of you that might be 4 weeks. For most of you, you decide that you're really liking this lifestyle and you keep tracking and you've got those training wheels on. And then when you do decide to take those training wheels off, it gives you a great picture of how much food you need to take to fuel your body, to feel your best, to feel lean, to feel fit, and to just have more energy overall. So again, don't get caught up in the nitty gritty. Practice that rule of 5 to 15 seconds. And then 2 more things. One is when you start, you are getting the question, are you logging everything you're eating or drinking? If you're logging everything you're eating and drinking with accuracy, that is going to give you the best results. But if you're not, that's okay. You just have to accept the fact that your progress might be a little slower if you're taking a Sunday off, or if you're taking the night off to enjoy a dinner more mindfully, which is what we're going for. And that's why in the program we also keep track of like your hunger and your satisfaction cues for the day, and how hungry are you feeling. If you're not feeling hungry, that's great. That tells us that you're eating enough calories, but you're also getting enough of your fiber and of your protein. So you want to make sure that you're holding yourself accountable, you're being true and honest with yourself. Keep those check-ins coming, and you'll notice over time, you'll see how good it feels to be consistent, but you're also going to see how you can kind of take a break and you can still be on track and feel amazing. The last thing I would like to mention for my alcohol drinkers is when you're sipping on a cocktail or wine or beer, it's considered a different macronutrient in itself, truly. It doesn't provide any health benefits for as far as like your macros. You're gonna get more from eating actual food than you are from drinking a cocktail or a beer. But I personally love beer and I love cocktails, but you can make it fit into your healthy lifestyle. Pre-tracking goes a long way, but when you're tracking in my program, make sure you're clicking that little button that says convert to alcohol macros, because that helps you transition those calories into an even amount of carbs and fats, or all carbs or all fats, just so you can really see and incorporate that into your macro totals and keep you within your calories for the day, budgeting ahead of time. Again, a little bit of planning goes a long way. You're never expected to be perfect, and we're just navigating with those training wheels on, or with those, we're driving without the blindfold on, so we can actually see what we're taking in, bring awareness, and it's crazy how much people learn in just 4 weeks about what they're taking in, how to add more veggies. You get tons of ideas here. You get a list of foods that you like that work for you. But planning ahead and realizing, wow, I'm not getting enough protein, I need to get more protein, that's number one that people notice. Or wow, I can actually eat way more than I thought I could on a quote unquote diet. That this is not a diet, you guys. We are living a lifestyle that we can continue to do the rest of our lives when we do take those training wheels off and we do stop tracking. And you have 100% support, guidance, accountability to try to get to your goal and do it successfully, so you can hit your goal and go above and beyond that by just keeping those goals that you've achieved long term. And that is the whole key here. We're not looking to lose 10, 20, 30 pounds or 50 pounds and then gain it back. Who wants to do that? We want to get long-term sustainable results, establish a healthy relationship with food where you're not looking at a piece of birthday cake like it's the evil in your plate, or you're cutting out like whole food groups. That's no fun, especially if that's something you enjoy and that you can have that you're not intolerant to. So we're looking to get that flexibility a little bit. That's it for today, you guys, on food logging tips. And I hope you guys have a good day. And if you have any questions at all, remember, I am always open. You guys can always reach out to me, and I always return messages within 24 hours. Have a good day.